Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Sorry
everyone.
we're a little late. Happy Friday. Happy early 4th of July to everyone. We're happy to be back after our travels to Florida. It's good to be back somewhere not quite so steamy.
Yes.
I think we both felt like we were in the jungle at one point.
Yeah.
Not deep in the Everglades, but the place we were staying to visit John's mom was, let's just say I heard sounds from bugs and birds that I've never heard before.
Yep.
So that was interesting. But yeah, we're, as people join, let us know if you have anything fun planned for the 4th. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
We're just going to be here this year. Have a few friends over. In Omaha, you can set off fireworks from July 2nd to the 4th. So even though we drove through the South, much to our daughter's dismay, passing all sorts of fireworks stands, we did not buy anything. So.
And people obviously abide by the July.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our city's trying to limit when people set them off, but it doesn't really stop people.
No.
And we don't have any pets, so it doesn't really bother us. But thank you. We are happy to be back.
Yes.
It's crazy that it's almost July. Does anyone else feel like the year has gone by really quickly? I know I do.
It's nutty that half the year is over.
Half the year's gone. In the books.
Yep. Well, seeing as we have a few of us here, we'll go ahead and get started.
We have a lot to cover this week.
A lot to cover this week, especially with us being gone the last 2 weeks. And we're going to start off with Netflix. They've been making a lot of waves the last week or so. And one you may have seen, they are great to see you as well, Artie. And they have announced in Canada, CTV has announced that they are going to be getting rid of their cheapest ad-free plan. Netflix is. Sorry. And of course, speculation is when
in the near future.
In the near future.
Doesn't say
Thank
exactly
you. When. In the very near future, and then speculation obviously goes to when or if is that going to happen in the U.S. Assuming that they go forward with this plan in Canada, which I don't see why they won't. It wouldn't surprise, I know myself personally, to see them roll it out here in the near future after that. And even if you go to Netflix's homepage, their plans, they have the cheapest ad-free plan sort of buried. You have to go through a couple of clicks to get to that. And they're doing that largely because they make less money off of that. They make more money off of the ad-supported plan, or they want to push you up to that $15.50 plan, I believe it is, a month. And right now, we still have that choice.
But there are some differences. I don't know if you covered them, John, but in addition to the price, if they get rid of the cheapest ad-supported plan, the standard plan, which is what we have. We're on the standard plan, which is $10 a month, no ads, but you can stream on one screen at a time, and you don't get to download titles for offline viewing. I think those are the limitations. And it's streaming in high definition as opposed to ultra high definition or 4K. So if they get rid of that plan, so all of those features that I just mentioned are also part of the ad-supported plan. So it'd be like, unless we want to spend, $15.50 a month, then we're going to have the plan we have now, but also with ads, which is not what we want. And so it's an interesting. I mean, we know they're doing it to make money, and to continue to offset what they're losing. But I personally don't like it. I don't want to have to spend 50% more. I'm fine being able to deal with one screen at a time, and we really don't need the offline viewing. So it's unfortunate. I don't like it, and I hope that they don't bring it here to the US.
And from what I've read, reports have said that if, at least in Canada, if you already have that standard plan, they will allow you to stay with it. But if you make a change at any point, like if you're traveling or you want to make some sort of change, you would not be able to get back to that
Right.
So that, and I would assume that the same would hold true when and if they roll that out here in the States. So that's something important to watch.
Yeah, and something else to mention. Hi, William, and hi, everybody. Christy, Paul, thanks so much, Artie, for the welcoming us back. It's good to be here. Something else to mention about Netflix is that there is also talk that they might buy Paramount Plus. And we think that's really interesting. So thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about that. So it might be Paramount. It might be a different studio. Netflix is looking to acquire a studio as it pivots to growth through acquisitions. Now, if you think back to how Netflix has grown so far, it's been by investing a lot of money, other people's money really, because Netflix didn't operate at a profit, in content. They just would, it was said they would just throw everything at a wall to see what stuck. And they seemed like there was a never-ending pot of money. Well, that's not the case now. So instead of just throwing all their money at content, they're looking at, well, can we acquire a studio and then we bring that in-house? And so they can create content a little more cost-effectively. If they do this, this would be the first time since its founding 25 years ago that it would...
around 25 years. Wow.
That it would be looking for, and my dad, if you're watching, Dad, still gets the DVDs for however little small length of time left that he can. But anyway, now they're looking for M&A to play a larger role for the first time in their business history. They do need to find new avenues to boost subscribers, and acquiring all of Paramount Pluses and Showtimes might help them do that. Netflix says that it has more than $6.7 billion in cash at the end of the first quarter, and its shares are up. You know, a lot of that, I think, is coming from the password crackdown sharing that they've implemented.
Well,
They're having cash. Yeah. And so they have some cash to spend. So could they buy a studio, and could it be Paramount? And why would it be Paramount? Paramount is a likely candidate because it's not doing very well, actually. Its market cap is down $10.2 billion from $26 billion at the time that it merged with Viacom. Viacom and CBS merged in 2019. Reportedly, Netflix had talks with Paramount in the past, but it was only interested in the library, not the broadcast operation of CBS or its cable networks. And if Netflix wants to get into sports, CBS, we know, has sports as a, so it's an interesting proposition. I don't know if it will happen, but it's just, thought it was worth bringing up. Paramount's global CFO told investors earlier this month that it, being Paramount Global, is very open-minded about potential opportunities. So,
and sort of to dovetail with that, I have also read recently with the the impending, likely Disney purchasing the other third stake of Hulu from Comcast early next year, that Comcast could be sitting on some extra cash. And there has been speculation that Comcast could actually go after Paramount. And that creates another interesting issue is, will the FTC allow for one company to own two of the major four broadcast carriers?
Yeah.
And so so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Paramount.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up another point here before we leave this topic, which is that it's not just Paramount that's in trouble. Just showing this article from CNBC, Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, so Disney, WBD, Paramount, who we've already talked about, and Fox have all had major setbacks this year. So the legacy media industry is in retrenchment mode. Remember, the Hollywood writer strike is still going on. If we have time, we'll touch on where that's at the end. Netflix is surging a little bit right now, and so it's just another sign that things are in motion here in this industry. And if these legacy media companies don't have a clear growth strategy, it's hard, that's where the confusion or the uncertainty comes in, and how do they move forward? How do they maintain or even grow what they have when they don't have a clear growth strategy? So, and I think Paramount's interesting because I believe it has good content. If we think about, all the Yellowstone stuff, and all its spin-offs are coming out of Paramount.
But what do we watch? What do we personally watch on Paramount other than Yellowstone stuff?
And it had Top Gun Maverick, which was the highest grossing movie last year. Now, granted, that's a year ago. I'm just saying they have had a few big content hits.
Yeah.
And Yellowstone really kind of entered the conversation nationally as something that lots of Americans were watching. So.
Yeah, but it'll be, as Woods touches on there, Netflix, they just have so much reality TV, and with the writer's strike going the way that it is, it's going, as we will touch on, we're at the point now that we're going to start to feel that lack of content from the writer's strike. And so that's likely going to mean more.
And final thing I just wanted to mention about Netflix, just in case any of you are interested. I thought it was interesting. It stood out to me when I was reading this week that 2/3 of Netflix's subscribers are international. Only 1/3 are here in America. So even though, obviously Netflix started here, it's really grown internationally. And so as a business, and the content they create and the moves they make, they're going to be thinking internationally. And to that end, Netflix's CEO, Ted Sarandos, said that they have a $2.5 billion commitment to fund original Korean content over the next 4 years, like Squid Game and a lot of the other things that have been coming out, including some unscripted stuff. So.
And Paul brings up a good point relative to your father about, it's,
All right, well, let me put this on there. That'll be.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, we can see it
yes,
here. Okay,
it's it's interesting. We got him on Netflix a couple years ago, and he used our profile to watch a couple shows, and we went back to we go back to San Diego in August, and then at Christmas. And we set him up in August on our profiles 2 or 3 years ago, went back at Christmas, and he complained that he didn't know what to do when he had to stop and use a restroom because the show just kept going and going and going. He didn't know that you could pause. So it's, we all have those things. So it's interesting to see. So.
Yeah, my mom, on the other hand, is ready and willing to enter the streaming age. So right now they have DVDs and streaming. And
are they Spectrum? Is that who they're with?
Time Warner, I think.
Time Warner. Okay. So anyway. We get to hear about their monthly rental fee or
equipment
fees, and they can afford it. But anyway, moving on with Netflix, reports have come out that HBO is actually shopping content of theirs and its original content and shopping it to Netflix, and that Netflix could potentially purchase that. Deadline had reported that WBD is shopping some of their titles, and it would be the first time in about a decade that they will be moving that some of their shows would exist on other on-demand platforms. And I think on one hand, this shows WBD's desire to make more money and sort of dovetails with Netflix in their rise that we're seeing right now. The one headline or the one big show that was sort of put out there was Insecure, an Issa Rae comedy that ran for 5 seasons and finished in December of 21. And there are apparently other titles that are being discussed. And sources say that this is a financial move, as I had mentioned, and
that Zaslav is doing it over the objections of career HBO people who want to keep that original HBO original content on HBO or Max in this case. So they typically have not licensed their originals out. I was reading that they did back in 2014 with some series, but that was because they were viewing Prime. Amazon was starting to get into original content, and they were viewing that as a threat, and so they wanted to kind of license some of their stuff out, I think, to counteract that. But
Yeah,
this feels a little different, I think.
yeah, and it's from what we've read, it's gonna be non-exclusive, so that the shows can still be housed on Max,
Right.
but also be available on Netflix. And
he did this. He just, meaning the CEO, also Zaslav decided to lease some of the HBO properties out to fast services, like Westworld went out. You already said that, but.
You want to get into CNN?
Yeah, so another thing, staying on Warner Brothers here for a minute, is that there are talks that they're looking at...
Hey, Marianne and Space Ghost. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you. And don't worry, I was going to say, Space Ghost said one of these days he'll remember when our live stream starts, but the good thing is that this will go on our channel when it's done. And so you guys, anyone at any time can go back and watch what you missed, but we always say better late than never. Anyway, so Warner Brothers is exploring multiple options to bring CNN's live programming, live CNN, so not just originals or curated streams of content, but live CNN programming to Max, including some approaches that would not require the company to renegotiate its contracts with cable, satellite, and live TV providers. I think it's really interesting, and it kind of has me thinking about ESPN a little bit, because we know that Disney is trying to do something similar with ESPN. And I remember reading about that move, that it could end up being helpful to cable as well, because then cable, I think it was cable providers could offer just ESPN, not having to lump it in with a bunch of other channels. So it might bring some maybe they're looking at something similar there with CNN, because sports and live news are kind of the two pillars left holding up cable TV.
Yeah, and with it, so the reports are that they would be doing it internationally to start, but with the full plan of bringing it to the U.S. in the near future. And CNN has been losing subscribers or viewers. They've been losing viewers, and they've, their head left. And, on one hand, it makes sense for them to go this route because, as Nicole and I were discussing earlier this week, they already have this. It's theirs, as opposed to selling it and then going out and buying another news network to put on their platform. And from the beginning of their launching of Max, they have made very clear that they plan on adding live news and some kind of live sports to the platform. So it makes sense on one hand, but it'll be interesting to see if they're able to work out.
Yeah, and to Paul's point, Paul asks a good question. He says, is there a possibility that CNN will be going to Max and leave cable for good? Only time will tell, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because, as I was just saying, I think there is going to be the possibility for sure for them to put it in both places. And really, we can't forget the role that advertisers, U.S. advertisers, play in these decisions. I was just reading today that there are still big brands, think Nike and other brands that spend a lot of money on advertising. They still are really committed to cable, because there's still a lot of their target audiences that are watching cable. So, people who still subscribe to cable tend to be older, and people who tend to be older tend to also have more income. And so I'm sure advertisers, I know they're following those dollars. Yeah. So I don't think it's likely that CNN's going to leave cable anytime soon.
Yeah, and William's absolutely correct about the free services out there. It's we're using them more and more, and more and more people in droves are using them.
Yeah, there's a time, when, especially during a national election year, where I particularly, I think both of us, we enjoy following all the cable news networks just to keep tabs on what's going on. But with other, like, ABC News Live is free in so many places, and there's so many streams like that. You can get Reuters News Live free, that it is feeling paid cable news is feeling a little less critical, at least to me.
Yeah.
So I would agree, William.
Yeah. And then, so beyond all the Netflix and WBD stuff, YouTube TV is, they have announced that starting today that they are adding some more local channels, including roughly 30 CW affiliated TV stations, some 25 My Network TV affiliates, some stations in Chicago, is really all over the country.
WGN today. WGN. That's a big deal for Chicagoans.
Yeah.
Chicagoanites. But I don't know how you'd say that.
Chicagoans.
Chicagoans.
As a former Chicagoan. But that's sort of on the flip side, they're getting rid of SNY, and that is happening very imminently. And that's, I've read both online, on social media.
Sportsnet New York.
Yeah,
I had to look
New
that
York.
up. People, just in case people don't know, Mets, Jets, and one other big sports team. Not the Yankees, but Mets, Jets, and someone else.
Anyway, regardless, there are a lot of people that aren't happy with this, that want access to that. So it's nice to see that they're adding these locals, but live sports is so important for so many people, and getting this dropped. There are other options out there that carry SNY, Fubo, DirecTV Stream, Hulu Live, all do, but we personally, generally speaking, rank YouTube TV ahead of all of those. Generally speaking.
Yeah, Fubo's more expensive, especially factor in the fees.
And
one thing else to say about YouTube real quick before we leave it is the multi-screen, if you want to talk about multi-view.
And Paul just brought that up. I do expect it to be available by the start of college football season. They actually announced that...
And that's multi-view.
Yeah, multi-view, that they're testing for up to 5 different windows, and that's beyond sports, would include news and weather channels. And I also read last week while we were on vacation that I believe it's Fubo is also looking at doing further testing on split screens or some kind of thing there, which makes sense for them since they at least promote themselves as a sports-heavy service. But I do anticipate them having it by the start of college football season. It would make sense given with Sunday Ticket having it, and we don't subscribe to YouTube TV, but I know that if we did, that would absolutely be a selling point.
But we are signed up for Sunday Ticket, so we want to test that for y'all and give an honest take on it. And plus, I think our son would really have used his allowance money to pay for it if we didn't sign up for it. So
yeah.
He what was it just the other day? He came in NBA Summer League, remember?
Yeah.
He came into the office the other day and said, "Hey, NBA Summer League streams on such and such, and it's live now." And
we don't have any live service right now, so
we don't.
He was disappointed.
He was. Anyway, so let's talk about DirecTV Stream a little bit. So we are talking about sports. DirecTV Stream is in the news this week because it is adding the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone to its choice plans and above.
Yes, with a catch.
Yeah, and we'll get to that catch in just a second, but I wanted to make sure this is still the price. It's expensive, so they're touting that they're adding these channels that people are going to want this fall, people who like football, but to get them, we're going to have to pay $100 a month before taxes. It's so steep. And then something else that's come out that's kind of unfortunate, I've highlighted it here. I guess DirecTV Stream had been grandfathering in people who were signed up through DirecTV Now and presumably getting maybe the choice plan at a lower rate. Well, they have said that if you want these 2 channels, you are not, and you're grandfathered in through a DirecTV Now plan, you're not going to be able to get them. You're going to have to cancel and then resubscribe at that $100 or higher rate per month to get them. So,
and that's a stark difference between YouTube TV.
Sorry, choice or higher, and get the sports pack add-on. So
YouTube TV, Hulu Live, Fubo, Sling even offers at least NFL Network. You can get them all cheaper that way. So it's doesn't surprise me at all whatsoever. But it is disappointing that they've held out so long in adding that. Have it now, but got to hand over more money to get it.
Yep. So, and we have a video coming out in a couple of weeks. I think we're working on it now on DirecTV and Dish. So, looking at some chatter about them and what they might do as they try to stay relevant going forward.
Yeah.
So you can keep your eyes open for that. We'll have a little more on those companies.
Yeah, and then as we're bumping up against our half hour, just a few odds and ends. NBC Universal is sending some channels to Freevee and Zumo.
Put that up there.
And they are sending 20 new fast channels that will be initially available on Zumo and Freevee this summer. They're going to be built around a broad range of content, entertainment, news, Spanish language, and this is so shows like Saturday Night Live, Top Chef, Real Housewives, The Kardashians, all the way to Lone Ranger, Lassie, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It's a change in strategy for them, which eliminated its free since they eliminated their free tier on Peacock, a while back. So it's sort of a bit of a change in strategy that they're doing this.
Yep. I did want to, let's go back to our comments view here for a second, because I think somebody asked a good one right here. Paul asked this about DirecTV Stream. Is DirecTV Stream harder to cancel or pause when the customer wants to leave temporarily?
It's a pain in the neck.
It is. It just feels like AT&T to do that, doesn't it? I don't know if you all have seen that commercial that AT&T is running where the couple's at a restaurant and they're buying phone plans and the lady says, "I come here all the time. I love the service." And I just every time it sort of sticks in my craw because I'm like, AT&T is not known for good service, and this is part of that. Trying to make it hard, really hard to cancel. It's just not a good look, as some might say.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to cover this quickly. It's something I've been following and I'm interested in. That's the writer's strike. Just quickly mention what's going on there. Just to say that we are going to start feeling it soon. So the writers are still on strike. And it's been 3 months, if you can believe it. Most productions have ground to a halt. Future films and TV series are being delayed, and some of them are just being outright canceled. Some of the high name, ones that you might recognize that are delayed: 1923, Severance, Abbott Elementary, Euphoria, The Last of Us, Cobra Kai, and of personal interest to me, the final season of Stranger Things. And that one in particular, those kids, they're not even kids anymore. They're young adults now. They're getting older. It's going to get harder and harder to make that final season. So some of the talk that I've been reading is that some insiders are speculating that studios are actually using the strike as an excuse to enact force majeure contract clauses, which basically just allow them to cancel deals with creators and showrunners. They're like, we all know they're trying to cut costs, and they're already saving some money by not paying the writers. Yeah. It's just another way for them to kind of take advantage of the situation and gamble on, okay, we still have some stuff in the can, but...
And from what I've read, there have been no discussions at all whatsoever. So it's not 3 months down the road and they just can't come to an agreement. They're not meeting. They're not talking.
Yep. Yeah, they're not talking. And I think the last thing I wanted to say about it is just that we're going to start to feel it now for the next year, because we're getting these delays just pile up and things take so long to make that we are going to have multiple months over the next year where we're going to feel it just as people who watch TV. Yeah,
and we're already in sort of that coming out of COVID when production stopped for the amount of time it did. So we're already, last summer felt like a great summer for movies. And this summer, at least personally speaking, it's sort of ho-hum, and so it's just going to add to it, I think, and hopefully they come to an agreement. Unless it's Amazing Race, I don't really care for reality TV. So you
It
know,
is sad, Artie. As someone who really likes good TV, I'm sad, but I guess it really is, what do they say, a first world problem.
Yeah, definitely.
And to Sean's point, we do have, international series are still running. So that's a good point. It'll be a chance to, at least for me, I don't watch a lot of international stuff. It'll give me a chance to explore that a little more, because I know there's good stuff out there.
Yeah, and one last thing we wanted to briefly cover is that Roku announced about a week or so ago, I think it was last week while we were traveling, that they're going to start dipping their toes into live sports.
Yeah.
And was
e-racing.
Yeah, e-racing.
Partnership with CBS Sports.
Yeah, Formula E racing.
Yeah.
Doesn't personally interest us, but it is interesting to see, as live sports are what drive viewership for streaming services. So it's interesting to see that Roku is doing this, and I don't see anything major going over there, at least in the near future. Just interesting to see.
Something rotten in Denmark about this strike. Hopefully we'll find out what it is, Space Ghost. I think there could be. And I don't have time to show it now, but we do have some Roku tips and tricks videos coming up. And so I was in there this week filming, and I was able to see that they have built out their sports sections where they're trying to make it, I think, a little more like YouTube TV and Fubo, where you can click in and, they're trying to put everything sports-wise from across the streaming apps in one place for Roku users. And I think they're doing a good job. They're on the right track. We've talked before about how everyone wants that convenience and, looking for that one place to go to put everything you want right there. And I think Roku's trying to get there. They're making some good moves on that front.
And Paul brings up a good point with YouTube TV dropping SNY. Should the sports leagues create their own regional sports package? That is interesting. It would. I think it's possible, but just the overhead and just the getting that out there, I don't know if it would be more expensive for them to go that route. But it's at this point, nothing would surprise me in terms of seeing something like that happen.
Right, and what do the advertisers want? Would they like them? Because right now you've got a wider audience of people that are able to watch whatever's shown to them. We don't we get whatever CBS and Fox are going to show just for football. I'm just thinking about football. If we had the opportunity beyond Sunday Ticket just to subscribe to the teams we follow, I mean, it'd be more interesting to me. And I just wonder what advertisers would, if they would also like that more targeted approach, or if they prefer the broader net. So just something we'll have to keep watching.
Yep.
So. Well, we have kept y'all our half hour. These times always go by so fast, and I always feel like we could just keep going for another half hour.
That's because you're a talker.
Well, one of us has to be. So thank you all for joining us again. Really good to see you guys after us being gone for a while. Feel free to keep putting comments in the community, and as always, we watch that. And we will make sure we get you answers.
Yep.
So hope you guys have a safe weekend, a safe 4th. Enjoy. Don't burn off any fingers or anything like that. If you set off fireworks. If you live somewhere where you're able to.
Yep. Okay, have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.